Ladies and gentlemen, let's dive into a question many of us have pondered. Why do men return to you after no contact? Let's talk about the power of absence. When you pull away, even if it's unintentional, you create space for him to reflect. It's not about playing games, but about giving both parties the emotional room to reevaluate the relationship. Absence, believe it or not, can bring clarity. When you're not always available, he starts to realize what your presence actually meant in his life. The absence draws his attention back to you, but it's not just about missing you, it's about what he misses. The power of absence is something that many of us underestimate, especially when it comes to relationships. We often believe that the key to keeping someone's attention is to be constantly available, to be present in their life as much as possible, and to maintain constant communication. However, the opposite can sometimes be true. Absence has a unique way of working its magic. It creates a sense of longing and reflection that can often lead to a deeper appreciation and desire. When we are too readily available, we risk becoming a constant fixture in someone's life, blending into the background and losing our perceived value. By stepping back, we allow space for emotions to settle and for both people to process their feelings without the pressure of immediate responses or constant interaction. When you're not always there, the other person starts to realize what your presence truly means to them. This is where the power of absence comes into play. It's not about disappearing for the sake of playing games or trying to make someone miss you. It's about creating the kind of space where both parties can evaluate their feelings without being clouded by the intensity of daily contact. When we're constantly interacting with someone, we become part of their routine, something they expect and are accustomed to. It's easy to take someone for granted in that situation. However, when you step back, even for a short period, it forces the other person to take a step back as well. They are no longer distracted by the constant flow of messages, the immediate responses, and the habitual interactions. This absence often sparks a shift in their perception. What they begin to realize in your absence is not just that you're missing, but that they are missing something they may have taken for granted before. The absence forces them to reflect on what they value about the relationship, what you brought to their life, and whether that's something they still want. Often, this realization occurs only when the constant presence is no longer there to cloud their judgment. It's in the quiet spaces, the moments of separation, that they begin to understand the significance of the connection. The absence becomes a mirror reflecting the impact you've had on their life. It's also important to note that absence doesn't necessarily mean distance in an emotional sense. Sometimes it's simply about giving the other person the space to process their own emotions. People, especially men, tend to need time to think and figure things out without feeling pressured to act immediately. Absence provides them with that opportunity, gives them room to reflect, to grow, and ultimately to decide what role you should play in their future. The more time they have to process things independently, the clearer their feelings become. They can no longer ignore the emotional pull they may have felt when they were constantly engaged with you, and this absence often brings those feelings to the surface. The power of absence works because it shifts the dynamics. It takes the pressure off, allowing both parties to evaluate things from a different perspective. It creates space for genuine desire to grow, for appreciation to deepen, and for emotions to develop in a more meaningful, authentic way. Emotional space and reflection play a crucial role in understanding why men may return after a period of no contact. In relationships, it's easy to get caught up in the intensity of emotions, and sometimes those emotions can be overwhelming. When you're constantly in contact with someone, whether through texting, phone calls, or in-person meetings, it's easy for emotions to become muddled or even confused. Both parties can feel pressured to maintain a certain level of engagement, and this pressure can cloud judgment or prevent one from truly understanding what they want from the relationship. Emotional space provides the necessary distance to allow feelings to settle and become clearer. In particular, may find themselves in need of this space because of the way they process emotions differently than women. Often they require more time to step back, think things through, and reflect on how they feel about a situation. While women may often process emotions through conversation or constant connection, men might retreat inwardly to gain clarity. In relationships, when emotions run high, this retreat becomes even more necessary. The space allows them to untangle their thoughts, confront their feelings, and ultimately come to a realization about the relationship. This time apart gives men the opportunity to think critically about the dynamics at play without the interference of constant interaction or emotional input from the other person. It's easy to become reactive during a relationship, acting based on the heat of the moment rather than reflecting on the bigger picture. When a man is given emotional space, he is no longer reacting to immediate circumstances or to the demands of constant communication. Instead, he can reflect on his feelings, his desires, and his goals. This kind of self-reflection is key to understanding whether he truly values the relationship or if it's something he might want to walk away from. During this period, men can come to terms with their emotions and gain a more objective perspective. This period of reflection helps them realize what they want in a relationship and whether the person they are with aligns with their long-term goals and needs. The distance allows them to evaluate the relationship without the pressure of daily interactions, and often it's in this space of quiet reflection that they come to appreciate the relationship in a way they might not have before. Emotional space doesn't just help men understand what they want from a relationship. It also helps them recognize the value of the other person in their life. By stepping back, they can reflect on the positive qualities of their partner and how those qualities contribute to their own happiness and fulfillment. In the absence of the constant engagement, they might realize the emotional bond they share and how much it has contributed to their well-being. Emotional space and reflection allow both individuals to grow, think, and understand what they need from a relationship. It provides clarity that constant interaction cannot. This period of reflection not only helps men recognize the importance of the relationship, but it also helps them return with a renewed sense of appreciation and understanding. Desire for validation is a powerful motivator in relationships, and it plays a significant role in why men sometimes return after a period of no contact. Human beings, regardless of gender, have a natural desire to feel seen, heard, and appreciated. In relationships, this need for validation becomes even more pronounced. Men, just like anyone else, want to feel valued and wanted by the people they care about. But when there's a break in communication or a period of absence, they might return not solely because of a longing for the other person, but because they seek confirmation of their importance. This need for validation can stem from several emotional triggers that often emerge when someone feels uncertain or disconnected. When there is no contact, the sense of validation they once received from the other person is temporarily gone. They may start to question their worth or whether they were truly valued in the relationship. This uncertainty can be unsettling. The absence of reassurance can make them feel invisible or unimportant, and this often prompts them to reach out again to test whether they are still desired or if the other person is still thinking of them. It's not just about getting attention, it's about confirming that they still matter to you and that their presence was significant in your life. This need for validation isn't always about insecurity or ego, but rather a deep-seated need to feel acknowledged in a relationship. In the absence of regular contact, they may feel disconnected from the emotional feedback they once got. This is where the desire for validation comes into play. Men often seek affirmation that they are valued as individuals, and they want reassurance that their efforts, whether they are emotional or practical article or noticed when they return after no contact, it's often because they want to gauge whether they are still important to the person they care about. They are looking for a sense of emotional confirmation. There's often a psychological aspect of testing the waters. After a period of no contact, the other person's feelings may seem unclear. The lack of communication leaves both parties to wonder about the emotional state of the other person. In this situation, men may return not only to check if they are still wanted, but also to assess the emotional temperature of the relationship. They might want to know if their absence has caused any emotional shift and whether the connection is still strong. In essence, they are looking for signs that their place in your life is secure. This need for validation can also stem from the fear of being forgotten or replaced. In relationships, there is always the underlying question of whether one person is dispensable or irreplaceable. When there's no contact, that fear can surface, especially if they perceive that their absence has not been noticed or felt. Reaching out after a period of no contact is often an attempt to secure their emotional position. They want to feel that they are still a significant part of your life and that the connection they once had hasn't been lost. The desire for validation is a natural part of being in any relationship, but it's especially pronounced when there's a break in communication. The return after no contact is often driven by the need to confirm emotional relevance and to assure themselves that their place in your heart has not been compromised. It's a way of seeking reassurance, not just from the other person, but from themselves as well, that they are still important, valued, and wanted. The mystery factor is one of the most fascinating elements when it comes to why men return after a period of no contact. Humans are inherently drawn to the unknown. We find ourselves captivated by things we can't fully understand or predict. This is a psychological principle that plays a significant role in relationships, particularly when one party suddenly disappears or withdraws. When you stop engaging as frequently or create some emotional distance, it can spark a sense of curiosity in the other person. The intrigue that comes with not knowing what the other person is thinking or feeling can be enough to draw them back in, prompting them to reconnect. For many men, mystery can be a powerful trigger that reignites interest and stirs emotions. When you suddenly become less available, they may begin to wonder what has changed. Is it that you no longer care? Have you moved on? Or perhaps something else has come up in your life that has caused this shift. This uncertainty and the unanswered questions often lead to a heightened sense of curiosity. People, especially those who are used to having a clear and predictable understanding of their relationship, don't always handle ambiguity well. The absence of communication opens a space filled with unknowns, and humans, by nature, are drawn to solve puzzles and fill in gaps. This need to resolve the mystery can compel a man to reach out after no contact. He might want to understand what has happened, to gain clarity on your emotional state, or to gauge where you're still interested. The distance creates a sense of longing to uncover the unknown, and that desire to resolve the uncertainty can be enough to prompt a return. It's a classic example of how absence can create a kind of emotional magnetism. The more you withhold your presence, the more intriguing you become. This, of course, doesn't mean that men return only because they're curious, but curiosity is often a major driver that reignites the spark for further exploration of the relationship. This mystery can also create a shift in the dynamics of attraction. When someone is always available, it can sometimes lessen the perceived value of the relationship. The consistency of availability makes it predictable, and predictability can sometimes breed complacency. On the other hand, when a person is more elusive, it creates an element of surprise, a sense of not knowing what will happen next. This unpredictability can make the relationship feel more exciting and dynamic, and that excitement can draw a man back in. The human brain responds to unpredictability with heightened emotional engagement. So the less predictable the relationship becomes, the more it can capture attention. The mystery factor also plays into the dynamics of desire. When a man is used to knowing exactly where you stand or having consistent access to you, the sudden withdrawal can make him question whether you still have feelings for him or if your attention has shifted elsewhere. This curiosity often leads to him reaching out to test the waters, to see if the emotional connection is still present and whether the mystery he feels can be solved by reconnecting with you. It brings back that sense of excitement, like uncovering a hidden treasure. And it's that rush of curiosity and desire that can drive men to initiate contact after a period of no contact. The mystery factor then plays a crucial role in relationships because it introduces uncertainty, excitement, and intrigue. By pulling away for a while, you become an enigma, and the desire to solve that enigma often compels the other person to come back and try to reconnect. The fear of loss is one of the most powerful emotions that drive human behavior, and it is particularly significant when it comes to relationships. When there is a period of no contact, it often triggers a deep-seated fear in the person who may be at risk of losing someone they care about. For many men, this fear is not just about missing the person in their life, but it's also about the realization that they could be losing something irreplaceable, someone who may have added value to their emotional world. This fear is often a wake-up call, pushing them to reconsider their feelings and reinitiate contact. The fear of loss is rooted in the concept of attachment. When people form strong emotional bonds, they naturally become attached to the other person. This attachment can manifest in many ways, emotionally, physically, or even through shared routines and experiences. When that connection is threatened by no contact, it disrupts the attachment and the person may feel a deep sense of unease or anxiety. For many men, this discomfort can create an overwhelming need to reclaim the connection they feel slipping away. The absence highlights the importance of the person they are attached to and the possibility of losing that attachment. This realization, often unconscious, can drive them to reach out again and test whether the connection can be salvaged. This fear is also tied to the notion of missing out, the fear that they could be losing someone who played a crucial role in their life, whether emotionally, socially, or even in terms of shared goals. Relationships are not just about romantic attachment. They also involve a shared experience of life, including the ways two people challenge, support, and grow together. When that person becomes distant or disappears, it's a reminder that they might lose the opportunity to continue growing with someone who truly understands them. The fear of loss prompts the desire to reconnect, not just to avoid loneliness, but to prevent the emotional void that might come from losing someone who has become important to their sense of self. The fear of loss can also stem from pride or ego. Men, like anyone else, have a natural inclination to want to feel needed and valued. When there is no contact, they may begin to question whether they are still wanted or if they have been replaced. This fear can create a sense of urgency, driving them to reestablish communication in an attempt to regain their place in the other person's life. It's not just about the fear of losing someone, it's about the fear of becoming irrelevant or forgotten. This fear isn't always rational, but it's deeply emotional. The absence of contact often forces people to confront their feelings about the potential end of the relationship, which can be a powerful motivator to reach out and see if there is still a chance to salvage things. This fear of loss forces men to reflect on what they really want. It often becomes the catalyst for self-awareness, helping them understand that they may have taken the connection for granted, or that they might regret losing someone who was once so important to them. The fear of loss serves as an emotional trigger that pushes people to reevaluate their feelings and take action. For many men, the prospect of losing someone they care about is enough to push them to return after no contact. The fear serves as a reminder that relationships are fragile, and without effort they can slip away, motivating them to act before it's too late. Personal growth and reflection are key aspects of why men may return after a period of no contact, and they often play a significant role in the development of relationships. When individuals take a step back from regular interaction, they are afforded the opportunity to reflect on who they are, what they want, and how their emotions have evolved over time. This period of emotional and mental space is not just about physical distance, but about introspection. During no contact, both parties are often left to evaluate the relationship from a broader perspective. This time apart allows each individual to grow and develop on their own, which can ultimately lead to a more meaningful reconnection. This time of reflection can serve as a powerful tool for self-discovery. When they are removed from the daily dynamics of a relationship, they have the opportunity to step outside of the emotional and routine-driven patterns that often dominate interactions. This space allows them to think more clearly about what they want in a partner and in a relationship, and whether their previous behavior was aligned with those desires. Often, during this period of reflection, men realize things about themselves and the relationship that they might not have noticed while caught up in the day-to-day interactions. They may come to understand how their actions impacted the other person, or how the relationship helped shape their personal growth. These insights often lead to a renewed understanding of the connection and a desire to re-engage with the other person. Personal growth often involves confronting one's own vulnerabilities and shortcomings. For many men, taking time away from the relationship allows them to see where they might have been holding back or avoiding deeper emotional engagement. They may come to recognize that their previous distance or lack of communication was not necessarily a reflection of how they felt, but rather a defense mechanism or a fear of vulnerability. By reflecting on their own behavior during no contact, they may become more aware of what they need to do differently to foster a healthier and more fulfilling relationship. This self-awareness can prompt them to reach out, not only to reconnect, but to offer a more genuine and emotionally available version of themselves. The period of no contact also allows for growth in terms of what both individuals want out of a relationship. Often, time apart allows for clarity, helping each person assess their goals and desires with greater honesty. For men, this time away can help them realize what they truly value in a partner, qualities they may have overlooked before, or qualities that have become more important to them as they grow emotionally. They may return because they now understand that they want to give more to the relationship, whether through better communication, more consistent emotional support, or a deeper commitment. This growth can be a catalyst for positive change in the relationship and can lead to a stronger, more intentional connection. This personal growth and reflection are not always easy. It often involves confronting difficult truths about oneself and one's role in the relationship. But this introspection is crucial for ensuring that when a man does return after no contact, it's not just because of emotional dependency or a fear of loneliness. Instead, it's because both individuals have had the time to evolve and understand their connection on a deeper level. This growth is what ultimately strengthens the relationship and ensures that the return is meaningful rather than merely a temporary fix. When both people have grown individually, they can come back together with a renewed sense of understanding, mutual respect, and commitment. In conclusion, understanding why men return after no contact is a multifaceted process that involves a combination of psychological and emotional factors. Absence has the power to create space for both individuals to reflect on their feelings and reassess the relationship. During this time apart, emotional space allows men to process their emotions, and the desire for validation can drive them to reach out to confirm their place in your life. The mystery factor also plays a key role, as uncertainty about the other person's feelings can spark curiosity and intrigue. The fear of loss often becomes a wake-up call, motivating men to reconnect in order to avoid losing someone important. Finally, personal growth and reflection allow both individuals to evolve and gain clarity about what they want from the relationship, leading to a deeper, more meaningful reconnection. The return after no contact isn't always about rekindling a lost connection for the sake of convenience or comfort. It's a combination of emotional reflection, self-discovery, and the realization of the value the other person brings into their life. When men return, it's often because they've grown and gained a new perspective on the relationship and their feelings. By understanding these dynamics, we can approach relationships with greater clarity, patience, and insight, recognizing that absence and distance can often be the very catalyst needed for deeper connection and mutual understanding.